My house was haunted, but my crazy landlord didn't let me leave. Hey, fellow Redditors, buckle up, because I'm about to share a bone-chilling story that happened to me just a few months ago. I never thought I'd be the one posting something like this, but here goes nothing. Let's call me Sam, and let's dive into the strange and eerie events that unfolded at my new apartment on 37 Maple Street. So, a bit of background. I moved into this old apartment building in a quiet neighborhood, thinking it would be the perfect place to start fresh after a recent breakup. The rent was reasonable, and the location was ideal, nestled between a park and a small shopping district. It all seemed too good to be true, and as it turns out, it was. The first few weeks were relatively normal. I unpacked my boxes, settled in, and even met a few friendly neighbors. Everything changed one fateful night. It was around 2 a.m. when I was jolted awake by a loud, persistent knocking at my front door. Groggy and disoriented, I stumbled to the entrance, expecting to find an annoyed neighbor, or maybe even a lost delivery guy. But when I opened the door, there was no one there. I peered into the dimly lit hallway, and all I could hear was the faint hum of the building's old elevator. I shook it off, thinking it might have been a prank, or perhaps someone had knocked on the wrong door. Days passed, and the knocks persisted, always around 2 a.m., always loud and insistent. I started getting paranoid, thinking maybe someone was messing with me. I asked around, but none of my neighbors reported hearing anything unusual. That's when I began to question my sanity. One night, unable to ignore the bizarre occurrences, I decided to stay up and investigate. As the clock struck 2 a.m., the knocks echoed through the apartment once again. Heart pounding, I rushed to the door and swung it open, only to be met with silence. I was thoroughly spooked, but the real horror was yet to come. A few nights later, I was awoken by strange noises in my kitchen. Cautiously, I tiptoed towards the source and was horrified to see all my cabinet doors wide open. I hadn't left them like that, and the apartment was locked. It was as if an unseen force had decided to ransack my kitchen in the dead of night. As weeks passed, the disturbances escalated. Objects moved on their own. Eerie whispers filled the air, and I would catch glimpses of shadowy figures out of the corner of my eye. Sleep became a distant memory, and I was on edge 24/7. Desperate for answers, I did some research on the building's history. As it turns out, 37 Maple Street had a dark past. A former tenant had tragically passed away under mysterious circumstances, and rumors of paranormal activity had circulated for years. I decided to document everything, recording videos and taking pictures of the strange occurrences. I even reached out to a local paranormal investigator who agreed to check out my apartment. The investigator was visibly unsettled by what he experienced, and he claimed that the place was a hotspot for supernatural activity. In a last-ditch effort, I contacted the landlord about the history of the building and my experiences. To my surprise, he seemed unfazed. He acknowledged the rumors but dismissed them as mere superstitions. Frustrated, I demanded to be released from my lease, but the landlord refused, insisting that I was overreacting. At this point, I felt trapped. The paranormal activity showed no signs of slowing down, and I was at my wit's end. I posted my story on Reddit in the hopes of finding someone who had experienced something similar, or could offer advice on how to deal with the situation. The responses flooded in, ranging from skeptics suggesting faulty wiring to believers sharing their own terrifying encounters. Some users recommended contacting a priest or spiritual expert, while others advised me to document everything meticulously and seek legal advice to break the lease. Overwhelmed but determined, I followed the community's advice. I documented every strange occurrence, sought the help of a local priest who performed a cleansing ritual, and consulted with a lawyer to explore my options with the lease. It wasn't an easy process, but gradually, the paranormal activity began to subside. Eventually, the knocks ceased, the whispers faded, and the shadows disappeared. It took time, but I finally felt a sense of relief. I moved out of 37 Maple Street, leaving behind a chapter of my life that I would never forget. To this day, I can't explain everything that happened in that apartment. Was it a manifestation of stress and anxiety, or did I truly experience something supernatural? I'll leave that for you to decide. But one thing's for sure, I'll never look at an old apartment building the same way again. TLDR, moved into a seemingly perfect apartment on 37 Maple Street after a breakup, but soon experienced persistent knocks at 2 a.m. and escalating paranormal activities. Investigated the building's dark history, sought advice on Reddit, and received a mix of skepticism and helpful suggestions. Documented occurrences, consulted a priest, and explored legal options to break the lease. Over time, paranormal activities subsided, and with community support, the OP moved out, leaving behind an unexplainable chapter in their life. The haunting of 37 Maple Street remains a mystery.